My name is Adam. I'm an aspiring filmmaker, a photographer, a bit of an adventurer, and most recently, a nomad. I'm back on the road and I'm not doing it alone. I'm teaming up with other travelers chasing the same dreams as me, to live life on our own terms. From exploring their rigs to unveiling their lifestyles, we explore what the pursuit of Borderless looks like. Anyone that knows me knows I have a complicated relationship with heights. So this, being 40 feet up this rope, suspended over open air, and nothing but a pile of boulders below me, yeah, this is a bit uncomfortable, but I'm working through it. Because overcoming fear and developing a pain tolerance and risk management are essential to personal growth.
The idea of comfort, I think, is overplayed in society. A lot of things that people are trying to sell you is about making things easier and more comfortable and quicker. But what living out on the road and in nature more, there's this certain level of discomfort that comes, and you have to settle into that. And I think once you get there, you realize that a lot of the things people are trying to sell you to give you comfort are band-aids over like much larger problems. And sitting with the discomfort and realizing that like it isn't good or bad. It's like being comfortable with discomfort.
I think the Nomad community has found a few important life hacks. It's a culture of community in the pursuit of freedom and exploration. Living off the beaten path is full of rewards and challenges, but the byproduct of this chosen existence is personal growth. I just spent 2 weeks in the desert outside of Sedona, hanging out with an amazing group of new Nomad friends. The good people at Good Vibe Collectives hosted a week-long van life meetup, full of fun times, social activities, and good vibes all around. And after the event ended, a small group of us stayed an extra week to enjoy each other's company just a bit longer. One of the things I loved was getting to learn each other's stories and trading travel advice. We all come from so many different backgrounds, and we all chose to live a nomadic lifestyle for so many different reasons. But the thing I loved most was we all have a common goal of living a meaningful life full of experiences and seeing new places. And when we finally had to split up, most of us decided to keep traveling with each other. Matt and Steve ended up heading west to California. Brianna and Devin hit a few more hikes with the group before heading to their next community meetup. Brendan and Sophia ended up finishing their bus build in Baja, Mexico. As for me, I had to start heading back to the East Coast. But I was lucky enough to get my brother Trey to fly out and road trip across the country with me. Our plan was to explore as we traveled and to stay as far south as possible to keep from freezing at night. And so because we were already in Arizona, the first stop of this trip was an easy pick. I'm so thankful I get to check out this spot again. This place is a wonderland of rocks. Back when living on the road was just a dream, it's moments like this that I was hoping for. And I'm so glad it's worth it, because it almost didn't happen. When I first started thinking of traveling full-time, it felt like such a huge life change. It was so far outside of my comfort zone and skill set that it was overwhelming. The fear of leaving everything known for unknown peaks and valleys was almost paralyzing. Fear is a powerful biological tool. It's fight or flight, run and hide, or stand up to it. We developed our senses and feelings to interpret our environment for survival, like eyes to see the edge of a cliff, and a healthy fear response to then quickly back away is beneficial for survival. But I will admit that there's a certain kind of growth that only happens when you can push past your fears.
When I first set out on the road, I knew that it would be amazing and fun and things that I would never forget, but I also knew that being on the road would be completely out of my comfort zone and that I would face challenges every single day that I never had to deal with before, and that appealed to me. Like, I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to make things a little bit more difficult for myself. I wanted to get better at like problem solving and like dealing with those things on a daily basis.
Challenging yourself is the only way to keep growing, and I believe it's a worthy prize worth seeking. But it's way too easy to get sucked into the routines and comforts of everyday life. Having a comfortable place to kick up your feet, climate control, and a fridge full of food can lull you into a passive state of existence.
I heard somebody describe that recently as the convenience lifestyle, and I think a lot of that is just such a modern invention that we've been able to have such luxuries as, like cooling and heating in our houses, and like the grocery store is right nearby when we need to. And it's not like we've stripped ourselves of all of those comforts of modern life, but it is nice to get a little more in touch with roughing it.
For sure, we're creatures of comfort and consistently routine. We thrive off that because having a place, a home to be in was safe, it was secure. We're wired to want that and to need that, but to grow and develop as a human, you have to move past that. Like, that's an ancient, tribal programming that we have in us, but nowadays we have the technology to manipulate our environment, so we no longer evolve to our environment, we evolve our environment to us. Once you recognize, oh, that's just a program, I don't have to live like that, we can use it to make ourselves comfortable, or we can use it to evolve and grow.
Fears come in all shapes and sizes, and I think the fear of not fitting in is another biological trick that helps us survive. Back in the day, whatever day that was a long time ago, if you were an outsider, you had less access to the supplies and the safety of a group. The ability to fit in or be popular was important for survival. But nowadays, the world is expanding. We can see new ways of living, sharing new knowledge and our own experiences. We have seen the road that's been taken by generations before us, and we're looking for new paths.
It's easy to get on the hamster wheel, as they say. You're being incentivized to stay in one place, work as hard as you can, build up some savings so that you can retire someday and then go see the world.
We live in this culture where we're supposed to graduate high school, go to college, work in our career, and we're finally starting to change, and people are just realizing life's too short, and I want to do all of these things because they're seeing the things that they can do that maybe they wouldn't have thought about.
I knew a few years after high school that I didn't want to live a traditional life. My first big international trip opened my eyes to see how big and beautiful the world really is, and I knew I wanted to spend my life exploring it. My journey to this nomadic life took about 10 years of hard work and a lot of growing pains. But it was all worth it because I get to catalog memories like this at the White Sands National Park.
I like to think of it not necessarily sure of how things are going to work out, just that they're going to work out. You go through life this way. You play it safe or you take, risks. And for me, once I took enough risks in my life, I got to a point where I said, okay, I know that I've got everything I need to figure this out. No matter what happens, I'm gonna learn from it, grow from it, success and failure, and that comfort gives me that freedom to then live in a van or live out of a backpack for 3 months or do whatever you want. It's that decisions based on fear. That's something that I love to break through, and a lot of people I find out on the road have gotten that level of comfort, and then they've built a van or they built a bus. They've gone through a lot of crazy things. They've had those experiences that have been tough, and so I love that about our community. I think it checks a lot of boxes. It gives you a commonality that you find amongst people out here because you're out in the weather, you're out in the elements, you're a little bit more self-sufficient and independent, and the more we as a society can get to that level of comfort that I don't know how I'm gonna figure it out, but I know I'm gonna be all right and I'm gonna learn from it, then it opens up your whole life.
Pain is another biological trick that life uses to keep us alive. Whether it's physical or mental, all life instinctually moves away from pain and discomfort. But humans have learned a few clever tricks that set us apart. We've developed a way to combine perceived emotional pain with a sense of time to push past fear. We call it risk, giving us the courage to face the pain of an unknown future or outcome over the pain of remaining where you are and staying as you are. And it's this human trait that has pushed us over mountains, across seas, and even to the stars. Pain, fear, and risk are generally not desired in our everyday lives, but when we learn to leverage these biological tools for our own personal growth, they become fuel to the fire.
I'm alright.
As the days went on, the nights got colder, and we started moving faster. Once we hit Texas, there was a lot less exploring and a lot more driving. Oh, and traffic. Lots of traffic.
Alright, me and Trey were driving through Texas. There's nothing to see in Texas. And we got stuck in traffic. And we saw this off the highway. So we decided we were going to stop. Go play some go-karts. Play some go-karts? Race some go-karts.
If you haven't been go-karting as an adult, do yourself a favor and go immediately. I know we started this road trip with the goal of going to see the most beautiful places, but this was a standout memory. I think we did like 3 races and we made the top 3 every time. We went down through the bayous of Louisiana, we stopped at the petrified forest in Mississippi, then we found the highest point in Alabama to watch a meteor shower. Our last stop was Table Rock Mountain in South Carolina. And after spending so many months out west, I forgot how much I missed the trees. One of the reasons I value this lifestyle is just the joy of doing things you normally wouldn't get to do. Like a 2-week road trip with your brother is not something you would think to do or perhaps even want to do. But I'm fortunate enough to have a very close family. My mom once told me, your siblings are the only people you get to spend your entire life with. And that's always stuck with me. Growing up with brothers has been a gift. We've always been active and we've gravitated towards different sports. My singular focus was wrestling. Dylan got into climbing and pole vaulting, while Trey was a wrestler and an elite runner. But then he developed a rare condition called compartment syndrome. His first surgery was his junior year of high school. In total, he's had 9 surgeries. He suffers from permanent nerve damage in his feet and his legs, and he has a permanent spine implant to help regulate the pain signals his legs send to his brain. So when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone and dealing with pain, my brother is an expert, and I was so inspired to watch him get out on these hikes and not let that limit his life experiences. So while I was feeling motivated and inspired, I linked up with my other brother Dylan at Pilot Mountain to do some outdoor climbing. I found climbing a few years ago. I was looking for a sport that I could do in my elder years and something that gets you outside. I figured my athletic wrestling background would help, but climbing favors technique and knowledge over pure strength. I first started climbing in the discipline known as bouldering. It's low to the ground, there's no ropes, they're short athletic routes. It's essentially the powerlifting of climbing. You can boulder outside if you bring crash mats and a crowd of people to keep you safe. But sport climbing is the kind that you do with ropes and on tall walls, and it still freaks me out. The kind of climbing we're doing here is called top roping. It's the safest kind of climbing, and I'm still scared. In my head, I know that I'm safe, but I can't quite convince my body that this is a true fact. But I found something interesting that happens when I have a camera in my hand. Somehow I can focus on just creating and tune out the fear. It's still present, it's just not as loud. As I've gotten to develop my skills as a climber, I've used that to push my creativity. And that has allowed me to reconnect with my friend Kyle. Kyle and I wrestled together in high school. and he found climbing a few years before I did. And he's gotten so good at it that he's traveling the world for international competitions.
I found out I was gonna lose my leg in the 7th grade. Yeah, I was 13, that's right. The whole reason I was gonna lose my leg was because I had bone cancer. So when I was told that I had cancer, my initial fears were that, like, oh my God, what if this is everywhere and I die, right? Then fast forward a couple weeks after we do all of the scans to see how far gone it was, to see that it wasn't far gone at all and it was only localized to one spot on my foot, to find out that all I had to do was to get a leg amputation and then my life was gonna be like good to go. I was actually really elated, crazy as that sounds.
Kyle's been kind enough to let me follow him around with my cameras and practice my creativity. So I'm getting a lot of height exposure through creative practice. Kyle also spends a lot of time with the adaptive climbing community. He hosts local adaptive climbing events at our local gym, but he's also part of the USA Adaptive Climbing Team, and these guys climb hard. Their training sessions are no joke. These athletes are pushing the limit of what people think are possible.
The pain that you experience climbing, it is certainly an elective pain. It's one that you choose to go through. Like a lot of pains, over time you develop a tolerance to it. That's sort of what climbing is. As you get better, the holes get smaller and the moves get bigger. But if it's worth it, you do it. Climbing can have this much pain, but can also have this much satisfaction and this much fun. Couple in some friends, suddenly the line between type 2 and type 1 fun becomes very blurred.
I think the best thing about climbing with Kyle is how logical he is about the sport. This man knows so much about climbing. You can tell that he is just so detail oriented. And I think that's just the opposite of me. And that is something so nice to have. And if you can surround yourself by people who are super different than you, but in a good way, then you're just gonna be a better person. And I think I always become a better person and a better climber anytime I climb or hang out with Kyle.
I think we're both feeling pretty physically exhausted right now. That's just the nature of 2 back-to-back 8-hour days of training.
So I grew up racing motocross, racing mountain bikes, and I ended up having my brain injury racing motocross at the age of 8. My brain injury was really, really bad to the point where it was we can't really do anything. You have 2 years to get back as much as you can, and it's definitely not gonna be 100% through PT, OT, and speech therapy. So I had to relearn how to walk, talk, put my clothes on, brush my teeth. Everything I do is a force-based movement, so my brain no longer communicates with the left side of my body. And so everything I do on that side, I have to manually tell, all right, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Yeah, so climbing definitely doesn't cater to my disability. And I wish I could tell you why I picked it, but I can't. If I'm good at it, I'm good at it, and we go all in.
Climbing in this day and age is just so incredibly accessible. The transition from taking it from a gym to an outdoor, location was really seamless. We're at the Red River Gorge for Adaptive Climbers Festival. So the Adaptive Climbers Festival is a gimpy gathering of the highest order. Every single time I come to one of these paraclimbing events, it's an absolute blast. We're all here to get back to that part of climbing that's just sort of this is a silly fun sport and we're doing silly fun things.
What I gain the most is a sense of accomplishment Even if I'm having a really hard day at the crag, it's still an accomplishment because, like, I like being in places where I don't belong. And I kind of just enjoy a little bit of a sufferfest sometimes, like working your body to get out to a crag and then like trying to refuel and get energized to psych yourself up for a climb. Even if you're like falling and going bolt to bolt, it's still a big accomplishment, especially when you're really trying to push the other limits of what you do and see if I can break my body doing it.
Being able to get out of my chair is just an incredible feeling, and just to be on the wall under my own strength and not having to worry about what's underneath me anymore. I think for my style of climbing, and I think probably just paraclimbing in general, there's a certain level of pain that you have to get over in order to actually start enjoying climbing. I think for me, just because it is entirely my upper body, and for the past 5.5 years of campusing everything, it's definitely taken a toll, and it takes a lot of effort and energy and time and consistency to get past that pain threshold to be like, oh my gosh, now I'm actually making progress, now I'm having fun. There is a lot of value in getting past that threshold, that barrier. I think it's pretty unique to climbing because once you do get past that point, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Pain and fear are two of the, for me at least, the biggest motivators in my climbing and competing in my training. Growing up, people told me I wasn't gonna walk out of the hospital. I looked at them and said, oh, joke's on you. And I handed my cane to my mom and I walked out of the hospital doors. That instilled an idea of pain and fear being motivators and blessings to me. If I can leave a training session or leave a workout or leave a competition and I am sore and I'm dying, I leave knowing I left my all out there and I gave it everything I had. You're sore, but mentally you feel good. You feel amazing. So that's definitely what climbing is. Climbing is type 2 fun.
Just like this type 2 fun, it's like when you get out there and really kind of get yourself outside of it, your comfort zone. So much of our society is based off of comfort and relaxation and making sure that we're okay. We don't really truly grow as humans, and we don't truly grow in strength until we put ourselves through pain. I think me being born with my disability, I've always dealt with pain and I've always dealt with uncomfortable situations. And when I put myself through more uncomfortable situations in climbing, I become a better person.
I lived a lot of my life with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I think that among the things that climbing really helped me with was sort of developing more adult social skills and realizing that like within a community of people, most people actually just really want to see you succeed. And the community of climbing as a whole are people who just want to see each other succeed in one, way or another.
So I think with the climbing community, we have something really special. The thing that's different about para sports in general, adaptive sports in general for me is, if you really look at the communities, obviously there's this super competitive side, but also you're all you've been through something really similar. And even though your disabilities may vary a lot, it's something really special about being surrounded by people who've experienced the same things and being able to go conquer challenges, knowing that they have dealt with the things that you have and knowing it's just as hard for them as it is for you.
I truly am inspired by this group of climbers. There's no quit in them, even after a long day of climbing.
3, 2, 1, go! Push him out, Ben! Push him out, Ben!
So I got some good news and I got some bad news. The bad news is life is hard. From the moment you got shoved into this universe, you've had to deal with pain and discomfort, and it gets worse. I don't know if anybody's told you lately, but nobody gets out of this game alive. That's why the oasis of comfort is so appealing. And from time to time, it's important to rest, but recover, don't grow stagnant. Heal, but don't settle for anything but your best. Because the good news is, you get to make up the rules. In life, you get to determine what the win is. What's worth fighting for? What values and experiences do you want to define your time here? Because in life, there is pain, there is risk, and there is fear. But life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you, giving you the opportunity to grow. I think that's why I'm drawn to both the nomad and climbing culture. We exist in a realm of risk where fear becomes a familiar ally. We dabble in elective pain and discomfort for the sake of expanding our existence. It's learning to use the biological tools that keep us alive and leveraging them to grow and become truly alive. Next time on Becoming Borderless, I travel with my oldest van life friend to the Outer Banks of North Carolina.